Well, hello there. We have a cracking day ahead of us. Sunshine and low winds. It's already starting to warm up a bit because it was cold earlier on. We have cracked it. I'm at Lix Toll, a garage here, just outside Killin, a couple of miles outside Killin, and we're heading through Glen Dubh, under the slopes of Creag Mac Ranaich, I think it is, through Glen Kendrum, by Lochearnhead, and ending at the Kingshouse of Balquhidder. It's about 10 miles or something. I've not done this walk before. I've been in the general area, I've done walks around Lochearnhead and Balquhidder and Killin, even on the Rob-Roy Way, but I've just not done this particular walk. I've obviously checked maps and satellite images. I've got a map with me, and it pretty much looks like a wide track all the way, so there's nothing going to be very difficult about this. There is obviously the potential to maybe take a wrong kind of fork at some point, but we'll just keep our eye on that. I mean, just look at the view here. It's just, oh my goodness, it's just stunning stuff. I could just stay here, forget the walk, we'll just stay here and just look at everything. I'm going to talk later on about public transport in this area, because I sometimes think that public transport in Scotland is just an absolute shambles. We're trying to encourage people to visit areas of Scotland and this utter beauty that we can see here. But in a recent article in the Daily Record, public transport in this area was described as a disaster. And that is exactly what it is. But I will talk more about that later. Enough waffling, let's be on our way. Look! It doesn't get more beautiful than this. It's absolutely stunning. I kind of sensed that it would be as good as this, but my God, it has not disappointed. And yet to get out this way by public transport has become much more difficult in the last couple of months. And as I said earlier, I will explain later. Not everyone has a car, you know. this other track just sort of gradually joining with this one. It's the old railway line. You can see that sort of thing there with the fence on top. It's got a kind of railway look about it. Having left Lix Toll and headed along this stunning path, views of mountains absolutely just blown me away, you know. As I say, this old railway line gradually joins, then we'll hit what looks like it's probably a railway aqueduct. I keep getting mixed up between aqueducts and viaducts. I think an aqueduct goes over water, doesn't it? As opposed to carrying water. Anyway, there's some kind of bridge malarkey up here, and we're going to head left through Gleann Dubh. But my God, was that not surely the biggest mistake we ever made? Doing away with the railways. You know I'm going to talk about the issues with public transport in this area. My God, imagine if we still had the railways in this area. Not only would it go through stunning scenery, it would take people into the area. Biggest blunder we've ever made. And look, the unmistakable shape of our old station platform. We're now on the old railway track. You could have got on and off a train here, right here, amidst all this stunning, beautiful countryside. Where did we go wrong with public transport? Glen Dubh, I think the name probably just means Black Glen, and I'm guessing, but I would imagine that's probably just because the mountains either side of it kind of block out sunlight for a good part of the day. And as I said right at the start of the video, I've not been in this area, not been in that glen. Can't wait. Okay, so this is where we have to be a little bit careful. I mean, having come along the old railway route there, on my map I'm leaving the railway route on a track just before the viaduct, aqueduct, I don't know, a duct thing over the water. Then following this track, I mean, I can see this track, but at the same time I thought I could see a kind of substantial track on the other side of the water, and there was a cyclist, and I'm sure he was on the other side of the water. So I could have made a blunder here, and looking at satellite images and things, I could have just made a mistake and saw a substantial track, not here, but on the other side of the water here. This is quite fast flowing. I don't think I'm going to go over this. So at the moment I'm going to continue on this because it is a track. It just doesn't look that well used. That's what's disturbing me a little bit. And I'm also aware of the fact that my map's sort of out of date, like, you know. But according to this, it's a footpath on this side of the water. So let's see how we go. I've heard that phrase before somewhere. Okay, it's Jake, it's off. I mean business now. There was an awful lot of flapping about going on up there, but I have made a decision. I'm going across this viaduct or whatever it is, and I'm picking up what I can see is a substantial track on the other side of the water. Now, I strongly suspect, given the slight out-of-dateness of the map and the satellite image that showed a really substantial track, one didn't show one on each side of the glen, so I'm crossing over and I'm going to pick that up. I just didn't like the look of that. It's an area of felled trees. It starts off with a track that even the wide track is hardly used. I can tell there's nothing moving on it, and then as far as the map's concerned it becomes a footpath at the side of the water. I didn't like the look of it, so that's a decision, rightly or wrongly. And my feet are starting, well, one foot is starting to hurt. I've got these flaming boots on again. I put a new pair of socks, a good bit of cushioning. I suspect I'm going to be sore by the time I get into Kingshouse. You boots that you are. Well, all's well that ends well. Everything's okay now. The track that I was on is actually just crossed back over the river to this side, over a kind of slippy, God, I forget what you call it, thing. And this is the track that I left. So in actual fact, if I'd stayed in that track I would have been alright, but sometimes it's best to just err on the side of caution. And I've said it probably in other videos, but it's often when you're in remote areas like this and you kind of sense that you sense that there is a potential for things to go wrong, and you also sense that something isn't quite right. So you just become, your senses become more heightened. You find yourself actively looking at the landscape, saying that's that hill or mountain, that's that glen, I'm staying here, I want to go that way, irrespective of where tracks are, this is the way I want to go. You just become more attuned to your surroundings, and that's got to be a good thing. But as I say, we're okay. I'm quite happy now on the right side of the water. I might have to put my jacket back on again. It's cold. We're gaining a wee bit of height here. But let's go. Well, that's me coming down now. Into Glen Kendrum. This map's been so well used that the word Kendrum has been partially obscured or rubbed out. I think it's Kendrum. That word has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Down. I hadn't appreciated just how much height we were going to be experiencing there. Okay, it was a track all the way, but in many ways it's a bit of a delay between the two mountains there, two very rocky mountains. See if I get this the right way around here. That's the way I came. That's Crag or Creag Mac Ranaich. And one of these is Miel and Fiodien. Haven't got a clue how to pronounce it. 1,791 metres. The height of that one's not on my map. I can't actually see, I don't have kind of height indicators at the low point between the two of them there. So I don't know what height you actually come up. when I get back home I'll check and I'll put the height at the bottom of the screen just now. I would be guessing, it's a fair bit, so I'd be guessing if I said maybe between 300 and 400 metres, something like that. Whatever's at the bottom of the screen will give you the exact height. Just before I get torn into my lunch here, which is it's a beef spread sandwich. Why I didn't add tomatoes or onions to kind of G it up a bit, I don't know, other than the fact that I didn't have these in the house. What sort of excuse is that? But you can see the way down from here, and there's mountains in the background. We're heading down towards Lochearnhead. I said initially in a few points during the walk that I was going to talk about public transport in this area. There used to be a bus service that ran between Killin, Lochearnhead, Kingshouse at Balquhidder, Strathyre and Callander. It was a C60 bus, but it stopped running at the end of last month, and there's no replacement. The bus I got today, I mean, I've had a fair bit of travelling this morning, you know. I got a bus from Partick up to the centre of Glasgow, got a train to Stirling, and then I get an S60 bus. That bus apparently only runs on Saturdays. And I'm thinking to myself, is there any bus between Killin and Strathyre, Lochearnhead and these places? And as I also said previously, an article in the Daily Record dating to sometime in March there said that this lack of this C60 bus is a disaster for the area, and it is an absolute disaster. You know, we're trying to promote tourism, we're trying to get people to visit parts of Scotland and eat, drink and stay at these places that are, as I think we've seen today, absolutely and utterly beautiful. You would want to go to these places, but if you can't find transport, because well, not everybody has a car. Is it the case that we no longer care about these poor sods that don't have cars? They're in the minority. What does it matter? I think even for some people who do have cars, they might want to leave their car at home and come out and have a day of enjoyment in these sort of far-flung places, and then before they go home have something to eat, something to drink, you know. A car might not be suitable for such an occasion. What on earth is going on? I mean, apart from the kind of idea of the notion that we're not allowing visitors to visit these areas because this bus service is just stopped. I mean, for the people who live in places like Kendrum, Killin, Lochearnhead, Strathyre, Balquhidder, you know, how do these people, for example, send their children to school? How do they get in their food, their shopping and stuff like that on a daily basis when there is what looks like no public transport at all? It's frankly unbelievable. And you know, you think the Scottish Government, Stirling Council have had at least 6 months to think about this. I understand that there has been difficulties, and that perhaps one of the reasons that the bus service stopped is because it was very difficult finding drivers on the route. Whatever the difficulties are, it's time for Stirling Council, Visit Scotland and the Scottish Government to start knocking their heads together to come up with something here. You can't cut off areas of Scotland where they no longer have any public transport, or they just have one bus on a Saturday, or maybe there's one bus at the beginning of the day, one bus at the end of the day. If you want to do your shopping, you've got to kind of hang about 8 hours or something somewhere. You know, my ancestors came from this area. Balquhidder's not that far away in that direction. And maybe it's time we started fighting here. And it's fighting to preserve or to create a public transport system that's fit for purpose and fit to allow communities to survive. And it's almost as if we're looking at another version of the Highland clearances here, where if there isn't a public transport system, people will eventually move out of areas like Kendrum, Killin, Lochearnhead, Balquhidder, Strathyre. They will move out, and places, businesses will no longer survive because the workers that they use to keep their business running will no longer be able to get to their work because there's no buses. It can't be allowed to happen. And I, for one, will certainly be doing what I can to sort the situation. Me and I'm sure many thousands of others. Hello? 101? Yes. It's just a report that I'm in Glen Kendrum and there's sheep been shitting on the path. Yes. On the path. They're not shitting beside either side of the path, they're actually shitting on the path. I think it's disgraceful. Yeah. Just to let you know. Goodbye. Well, that's me in the Kingshouse Hotel, just a couple of miles along the road from Balquhidder. It's not the Kingshouse Hotel these days, it's called, I think, Mourn 84, I think it is. It's 25 to 4, so that's effectively 3.5 hours before the bus back to Stirling. I'm tempted to try and get a taxi, but I'm just not sure how much it's going to cost, but I'll phone and find out. I'll get back somehow, one way or another. I'm Eddie Burns. Bye for now.